Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys real quick again about another thing that's concerned with people VWs, and it's basically if how to prevent engine fire, and also how to keep your engine from any problems. A couple of things that I just was thinking of. I have a lot of guys that are telling me, "Man, you got your fuel filter not here, but I have it up here." And I've put them up there for years and I've never had an engine fire. But I'm going to explain to you the technology of how to make sure that you don't have an engine fire. Now, there's a couple of things to check on your engine. I'm going to tell you what they are. The number one cause for engine fire in VWs, the number one cause is right here. You have a brass fitting. When you take this clamp off and this hose off, there's a brass fitting that slides into your carburetor. That brass fitting comes loose out of the carburetor and spills fuel on your distributor right here, and it's immediate engine fire. This is how 90% of the VWs caught fire back in the day. So the number two reason is because you don't have clamps on your fuel hose, or your fuel hose, you let it get bad, replace it every couple of years. These fuel hoses, the old ones, used to last a lot longer than these new ones. They're not real German rubber. So always have a clamp on everything. So on every side of the pressure side of your fuel pump. Another thing that happens a lot on VWs, a lot, and this isn't engine fire, but causes catastrophic engine damage, is check your oil regularly. Okay, people say, well, I check my oil, but it goes up sometimes. Well, no, you need to make sure two things: that your engine oil is full. Well, I'm a little bit over full, but that's actually okay. Just a hair like that, it won't foam up. But if your engine is, because I just put oil in it the other day, that's why I filled it up. It's just a little bit over full. But the thing that happens is your engine will, sometimes what happens is the fuel pump will start to go bad, and it'll put fuel down into your crankcase and wipe out all your bearings. So the two things you're looking for is your engine being too full on oil. If you see it and you check it all the time. You should be checking it almost every time you drive it. It's a VW. It leaks. It uses oil. There's always something. There are issues with these engines. So check your oil all the time. Pull that dipstick out. If you notice that it's going up, that if it's at the bottom level, and the next time you pull it out, it's towards the middle. This is your culprit right here. This thing will start to leak leak fuel into the oil, and will cause catastrophic engine damage. Had this happen to several VWs over the years, and caught it usually ahead of time. The other thing is so even if you have one of these filters and you have it up here on the pressure side, which guys are saying they don't recommend that now, because maybe it's the quality of filters. I used to always use Bosch filters, and I never had one that exploded. But the ones that do explode, if you're gonna put a fuel filter up here, like on my other engine, let me see, it's not on that one, on the other one. I'm not going to get up and go check, but I have one that's on here. If you do have one that's on up here, and it's one of those glass kind that you can change the filters out, no, don't put those glass ones on a VW, because when they do leak, a lot of times they'll leak. They'll come loose from the vibration of this engine, and those glass ones, you got to change the little thing inside. No, don't run those on VW. It's this kind right here. That's the kind you run, not those glass ones. But it might be because they're new filters. Maybe they're made in China now, and they used to be made in Germany. I used to use all Bosch ones. So let me just check this other engine. I'll show you. So another thing you need to make sure is where you've got past here, okay, where it goes. See this fuel line where it goes it comes from the fuel tank, goes over to and up through this line right here, going through the metal tin in the back, you should have a grommet and a metal line. And sometimes you can run without the grommet, but eventually you got to keep an eye on that because it can wear through. Okay, this metal line right here needs to be metal where it goes through the fan shroud or through the other side there. Because if it's not, it'll eventually start to wear through on the from the sheet metal, and it'll start causing problems with that fuel line will leak, and then especially on a bus where it doesn't have on a bug it just might stop running, but on a bus where you have constant fuel pressure right there from the tank being above it, it will just keep leaking fuel until it catches fire probably. The other thing is where it goes out on the other end and goes around the corner and goes up to your fuel tank, or on a bug goes down and over to the fuel line connector on the pan. You cannot let that touch the exhaust. That's another thing that happens, is the fuel line will touch the exhaust and it'll cause the fuel line to get hot and burn through. Also causes some vapor lock issues for you guys who have vapor lock problems. Usually if you have vapor lock problems, you're having a problem with your engine running too hot. There's a lot of things that are going on if you've got vapor lock. And sometimes it might just be a hot day. Even a really hot day, your engine's going to vapor lock. You're going to have a problem with it. So if it's like 100 degrees and you're trying to drive on the freeway and you get off the freeway and your engine's running super steaming hot and you pull over, you get off the freeway and it won't idle. Yeah, that's vapor lock, and that's probably from the engine being running way too hot. So, and sometimes it can be catastrophic at that point. You might, if it starts pinging and stuff like that, you start hearing extra noise going on, then you pretty much wiped out the motor. The rings are toast, some other issues. But, so those are the types of things that can cause catastrophic engine damage, cause engine fire, and those are the main things to prevent. The other thing is too, sometimes the fuel pumps will leak. This style I've heard isn't as good. I just happen to have one. So the better style is, well, you can have the old rebuildable one if you can find one. They used to not be able to rebuild these, but this style, or the one with the two lines in, they called it Alternator style, the two lines that come in one side. I had a guy comment on there that said, hey, you don't have clamps on your intake on your pressure side, but on that one, on those fuel pumps, the pressure side's on the bottom and the suction side's on the top. So yeah, I did have clamps. There's no car I have that does not have clamps. I will always make sure they have clamps on them. And this is, like I said, I've never had one of these crack open. I've never had it hit the belt because always have it away. But I always will have clamps on here. So, and if you change it often enough, this one looks kind of ratty, but it's probably about ready to be changed. But I'll change it probably before it goes bad. And I've never actually had one of these style ever break, but the ones that are made out of glass, absolutely don't put them on there. It's a bad thing on your VW. So to prevent engine fire, those are the main things. And remember, the number one thing is this brass piece coming out. Now, if you've got a carburetor that has this issue, okay, what guys are doing is they'll take baling wire and they'll wrap it around where the clamp is, okay, and they'll pull it tight and leash it to one of the carb screws in the back. I can't show you, like one of these, the carb screws, but in the back over here on this side, and they'll pull it tight so it operates as like a leash, so that if it starts to pull out, it'll hold it from going out very far and maybe just create a really tiny leak, which what causes a fire is actual fuel going right on your distributor cap. So see, even this, when I have the fuel filter over to the side, even if this did break, it doesn't go right onto the fuel cap and onto the cap. That's what causes the engine fire. So You know, this could run for a couple minutes. It would take quite a bit for it to actually catch fire here. So anyway, you got to just think about how it happens. How it happens is fuel gets on the distributor cap, wipes out the makes it catch fire. So anything you can do to prevent that from happening will stop you from having an engine fire. So anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and hopefully you won't have engine fire with VW.